Hey everyone, welcome back. Today I wanted to showcase a Shadow Dragonite team in the Open Ultra League. This Pokemon is such an incredibly powerful pick in the Ultra League due to its damage output, its coverage, and honestly just how strong it is into a lot of the top meta picks. I paired it with Gastrodon and Shadow Drapion today, a fantastic trio of Pokemon. Honestly, one of the best teams I think you could run right now in the Ultra League. I went 18-7 with it today, getting to the 2400s, which is basically top 50 leaderboard at this point in the season. So let's get into the battles and see what the Shadow Dragonite team can do. Alright, getting right on into game number 1, Shadow Dragonite up against the Shadow Feraligatr in the lead. This is a good lead matchup, but not as good as it is in Great League. I know they can win the 1 straight Hydro Cannon, they can win the 0 straight Ice Beam if they want a no-shield and I don't throw a superpower, which I'm not even going to bait. I'm just going to go Dragon Claw. Hopefully I can get either a lot of damage or a shield from the Skater. They end up letting it go, which means that they probably are going to try to go for shield advantage, go for an Ice Beam here. I'm going to shield it up, farm them down, and see what's going to try to farm me down here. They've stayed in a pretty bad lead matchup. I want to keep my Dragonite alive just in case I need it later on this game. In comes a Weezing. I don't want any part of this matchup, so I say swap my Drapion, and in comes a Gastrodon from our opponent here. I see a pretty good win condition for us right now. I just need to neutralize this Gastrodon as much as possible, use our Dragonite to absorb this Gastrodon's energy, and then our own Gastro should be able to sweep the back line once we can chip down this Gastro as much as we can. Crunch number 2 coming through here. They shielded the first one, no debuff unfortunately, but the second one does get a lot of damage into this Pokemon. I can reach an Aqua Tail too, which puts them into the red health, but not quite enough to put them into easy farm down range for our Shadow Dragonite, or even for a Gastrodon. Aqua Tail does end up doing a lot of damage, but not quite fast move farm down range as I was saying. First Body Slam is going to come through. They have basically 100 energy right now, so I'm going to have to take one Body Slam. Looks like another one going to be loaded right now. They are one Mud Slap away from another Body Slam, so this is going to be a little bit awkward, but we'll see what they want to do here with their energy in the backline. They end up doing one Mud Slap and throwing a charge move. I know for a fact this is just a Body Slam. I can no-shield this. No Earth Power to be even threatened here. We take no damage basically from that. It's not the strongest move in the game. In comes their Weezing once again, and I have to make a call. Do they have Play Rough, and are they going to throw it right now? I think they will, and I think they do. I shield it up, and it's a good call. I end up shielding a Play Rough. That would have done so much damage, basically put us into farm down range. So a good thing that I ended up shielding that attack there. Body Slam number 1 coming through. They shield it up. I can do one more Mud Slap, throw the next Body Slam, and potentially farm down that Gastrodon later on this game. I should have this match, but we'll have to see if they can reach an Earth Power with Gastrodon. I know they threw a lot of energy before this matchup played out, so yeah, they end up top lefting. GG's to them. Alright, next game. Shadow Steelix in the lead. Not exactly the best matchup, but they don't really run Dragon Tail anymore. It's normally going to be Thunderfang, so it's not the worst matchup for Dragonite, but I still don't want to stay in there. They resist our Dragon-type damage. I say swap our Shadow Drapion, throw Aqua Tail, and see what our opponent wants to do right now. In comes a Virizion to answer our Shadow Drapion. They didn't come in with this instantly. It was actually a bit of a smart play. They wanted to see what my charge moves were. They saw that I threw an Aqua Tail against that Steelix, so they knew I probably wasn't running Sludge Bomb. With that said, our Poison Stings are doing a lot of damage. Crunch, despite being resisted, can do quite a bit of damage as well, especially if we get that debuff. This could potentially be flippable now. I can shield this up, try to get to 2 charge moves, and either take shield advantage or get switch advantage for myself. I get the Sacred Sword shielded up. I have the double crunches right about now. I can throw one. If they want to shield this, I have a second one loaded. I can throw it instantly, and I'm totally fine if they want to do that. But they do end up just letting that go. In comes that Steelix once again. They're going to absorb this Aqua Tail. I would assume a no-shield is going to come through. They probably expect the final Pokemon that is on my team to be some sort of good Steelix answer, which it is, right? I have a Gastrodon, probably the best answer in the game to it. What are they going to have in the back? It is a Giratina, a Dragon Breath Giratina at that. They're doing a lot of faster pressure to me. They're up on energy as well, so they can reach 2 Dragon Claws before I'm going to be able to reach my second. So what that means is I have to try to get my Dragon Breath damage through. I might want to get a shield down as well just in case, but it's going to come down to fast moves this game potentially to see if I can take out this Tina. I know they're so much bulkier than me that they're going to be able to just shield once, farm me all the way down here, have energy for my Gastrodon. I barely do not reach that Dragon Claw, unfortunately, and now it's going to be down to Mud Slaps versus Dragon Breaths, and also that Steelix in the backline who has a lot of energy on it. Can my Gastrodon endure long enough to fast move down both Pokemon? In comes that Steelix. These Thunder Fangs don't do too much damage, but Psychic Fangs likely is about to be thrown, lowering my defense stat and making this match a little bit more awkward for me. And comes the next charge move in just a second here. We reach that next Mud Slap that's going to sneak through. As long as this is not an Earthquake, I think I survive it. Yeah, just as Psychic Fangs, we survive pretty easily, and we Mud Slap down the Giratina, taking us the win in that game. GG's to our opponent. Next match here, Shadow Dragonite up against a Malamar, a very neutral lead matchup, all things considered. They outpace us in the 1s, but in the 0s, I can actually win the CMP event, go for my Dragon Claw first, so I get to see if they want to shield, if they don't want to shield, and play the matchup out accordingly. Dragon Claw coming through. Looks like that was a CMP, so a foul play will be drawing a shield from us as well. Shadow Dragonite is very squishy. I can't really let this go, or else it would do a lot of damage to us right now. In comes a Shadow Drapion. Luckily for us, we do have one of the hardest answers to this Pokemon in the game. They throw in slightly suboptimal timing there, giving us a full Mud Slap for free, and now our Gastrodon can ramp up against us, get as much energy as possible, and I know that Malamar doesn't really want to take this energy, so either we're going to see their third Pokemon, or our Gastrodon is going to put in a lot of work this game. In comes the next Crunch. It does a lot of damage, but the defense drop should not matter here. We still get that full farm down, and now I have a Body Slam. I have 2 Body Slams actually loaded against that Malamar. I could go for the Earth Power, but I think it's just a safer play to do back-to-back Body Slams right now. I have 1 loaded Psywave, does come through, but it's not even going to come close to knocking us out here. They would need quite a few more if they want to take us out yet. We actually did have the Earth Power there, a little bit of a misplay by me. I should have went for that instead of this Body Slam. I didn't quite know my Gastrodon counts. I don't use this Pokemon, I guess, as much as I probably should. Another Mud Slap does end up landing there, but with that said, we have energy on Dragonite. We can shield farm down, or we can see what their final Pokemon is going to be. It is a Tentacruel, so our Shadow Drapion is looking very strong in the backline, as long as I can whittle down this Tentacruel into a range where a Crunch will knock them out. Dragon Claw comes through, it does a lot of damage, and now I know Crunch will be able to put them at least closer to Dragon Breath farm down range. I can come in with our Drapion, no shield this Scald, and try our best to start whittling down the backline Pokemon just with charge move spam, potentially draw a shield with the first one, and see what they want to do with this energy on their Malamar and their Tentacruel. They would survive this Crunch, so they might just end up no-shielding, knowing that I could get a debuff, and then the next one would knock us out, but our opponent does realize that they kind of have to preserve some health here this game. They end up acid spraying us, a crazy bait, but even still, this Malamar comes in. We have energy. I know they are nowhere near another Scald on that Tentacruel, so I can just build up to another Crunch, and even if that doesn't knock out, Shadow Dragonite is sitting pretty in the backline. I can come in, Dragon Breath them down, and I should be able to take this game. Crunch does come through. Is it going to be enough to knock out? Not quite, but this is what our Dragon Breaths are for. Dragonite able to come in and close out this matchup. GG's to them. Next game, Shadow Dragonite up against a Tentacruel in the lead this time. Very awkward lead matchup, because their backline honestly is a little bit better into this than our lead Pokemon. These Poison Jabs are adding up so quickly right now, and I know that they could have Acid Spray, they could have Blizzard, but a lot of the time they just go straight Scald here. I'm going to go for the Dragon Claw, swap out to our Shadow Drapion. Basically, I put them into range where a Crunch probably does knock them out here, and I want to keep my Dragonite just in case it's more useful later on. In comes a Poliwrath. Okay, well that's really bad. They got the attack drop on me. They have a Pokemon that absorbs all of my energy. I'm not running Sludge Bomb here, so Poliwrath is actually going to have a fantastic matchup. No defense drop. This is kind of spiraling pretty quickly this game. Another Crunch is going to be thrown, but I don't know what I'm going to do against this Poliwrath here. My Shadow Dragonite hasn't been hard countered just yet, though. Maybe there's a chance I can absorb energy on our Gastrodon, and since I did end up forcing energy on our Shadow Drapion, maybe our Dragonite can still sweep this game as long as it's like a Gastrodon or something in the backline. I mean, Triple Water could be a play. I've seen people run that before. Scald does come through. They have another one in just a second here, unfortunately, right before we get to our Body Slam, so this is going to almost knock us out, but I can come in with our Shadow Dragonite, farm down, and keep this Body Slam later for the backline. In the back, though, for our opponent, a Shadow Kanto, or a Alolan, rather, Ninetales here, able to get a Charm down against us. GG's to them. Next game, another Tentacruel in the lead. Let's hope that it's going to be a bit of a better matchup than last time. We are seeing a little bit of lag, but that's just visual here. Our opponent getting all their Poison Jabs through, but it is a little bit awkward to time, so I'm going to let them throw first, see what they're going to throw. Hopefully no Scald debuff if that's what they choose to use. Scald does come through. We shield it up. No debuff here, luckily, and now Dragon Claw will be able to come through, get a decent amount of damage, or potentially get a shield from this Tentacruel. No, they let it go, and in comes a Primeape here. A bit of an awkward Pokemon to see, just because my Shadow Dragonite is my best answer to fighters, but I've already gone down shields. I'm a little bit chipped down, and a Rage Fist is going to do quite a bit of damage here. I know I survive it, though. I'm going to no-shield, see if I can reach a Dragon Claw. I don't know if I can at this point. It would be close. I think I'm going to have to swap to my Shadow Drapion and just hope for the best at this point. We reach an Aqua Tail against this Primeape. This could be bad. If they're running close combat, they can basically one-shot me after getting that attack boost. So we're going to have to try to do our best with Shadow Drapion to neutralize this Primeape. I'm going to have to make a call. Do they go for close combat or not right now? They end up going for a move. They're running Ice Punch, actually, as their secondary attack. Much better for me here. I'm not going to take anywhere near as much damage as I would otherwise, but it's still going to do a lot of damage being a boosted, and I guess in this season it got buffed a little bit as well. Ice Punch does do a decent chunk to our Drapion, but we can go for the Aqua Tail, take out this Primeape, and now see what they're going to do. In the backline, going to be another Pokemon, another fighter that is, and they make a fantastic catch on this Tentacruel. That is a huge play by our opponent. This Crunch would have done so much damage to that Annihilate. I'm just hoping right now that our Gastrodon, being such a bulky monster, it can get to an Earth Power, potentially put them into farm down range, and still win us this match. If this isn't a close combat, I know I survive it pretty easily, but Rage Fist is a smart play. They can start ramping up their attack stat. How much damage does an Earth Power do here to this Annihilate? I'm just hoping right now it's going to be enough. Is it? It's not quite enough to knock them out, but I do a lot of damage. I actually put them just into Mud Slap down range. I guess we can take the win there. GG's to them. I could have gone for the fast move down with our Dragonite also if we needed to. In this next game, though, against a Giratina in the lead, a little bit of an awkward lead matchup. We saw this play out in the backline in a couple games earlier, but I can reach this Dragon Claw first. I would actually CMP them here. I'd win CMP if they ended up throwing it. It looks like they do end up overfarming instead, so I come in Shadow Drapion. I've put this into basically crunch range after getting all of these Dragon Breaths into this Giratina, so this is a very awkward position if they rely on Giratina to try to take out these dark types. In comes the first Dragon Claw. I don't want to shield that up because it's just a Dragon Claw, right? But if they end up staying in here and shielding a Crunch, I have to kind of think that I should probably keep our Drapion alive. In comes the charge move. Since they've stayed in this long, I'm just going to shield this up, make sure that we can get a Crunch against this Giratina. They might try to catch, but even if they do, at this point the switch clock is almost back up, so I can swap out as well. I basically have switch advantage this game. They ended up letting this Crunch land against Giratina. Oh no, they didn't. Never mind. I didn't see that catch. In comes a Miltank, but that's totally fine. I can overfarm as much as I need to. Come in Gastrodon, absorb the energy. I'm hoping it's running Thunderbolt and Body Slam right now, but if they do have Ice Beam, it's going to do a lot more damage than it otherwise would. In comes the move. It is an Ice Beam, unfortunately for us, so I'm going to take a little bit more damage than I would if they're running the Thunderbolt moveset. In comes the next attack. Another Ice Beam going to come through, but I can overfarm with Gastrodon. I have energy on my Gastrodon. I have a shield. I have energy on my Drapion, so I think we're in a pretty decent spot, especially because Dragonite should have a bit of play in the backline. The tower comes through, gets the knockout. I don't think a Body Slam would be quite enough there. In the back, going to be another Ghost type, ADA Ghost from this trainer. We don't really do any damage to this Body Slam. The only reason I throw it is so I can swap out. I don't want to be locked into that matchup when I know for a fact that I want to get this Crunch off. I don't want to give them any extra energy. Crunch does a catastrophic amount of damage to them, and we reach another Crunch with our Shadow Drapion. This is why we saved all of this energy. I know that Shadow Drapion up energy is one of the scariest Pokemon in the entire meta. In the comes the Drifloon. Can they get the farm down before the Aquadale? Yeah, unfortunately they can, but I know they're only going to reach one Icy Wind before we can either farm down or reach a Dragon Claw of our own. In comes the Icy Wind, and we are taking a decent amount of fast move pressure, but they are way lower in health than we are, so we win the fast move race, we win the game, and we take that match. Their GG's to them. Next matchup, Shadow Dragonite in the lead up against a Golisopod. Okay, well that's a good lead, but honestly it's not as comfortable as you might expect it to be, despite the fact that either you're taking Aerial Ace or resisted charge moves from this thing. They are throwing a move. It could be a Liquidation, which can get a defense drop, and if they do get that defense drop, it makes it even more awkward for us. In it comes, yeah, Liquidation does come and lower defense stat. That's not amazing, but I have a Dragon Claw ready to go. This will draw a shield or do a massive amount of damage. They end up shielding the move, and now at this point, I can just let Dragonite go. Look at how much damage I've done with my fast moves alone. Come in Shadow Drapion, try to farm them down if possible, or at least get a lot of energy, potentially use Energy Lead, Shadow Drapion, and Gastrodon in the backline to win this game. They are going to be able to get to an X-Scissor here in just a second. They throw it on what would have been CMP if I went for a Crunch, but I'm not going to fall for that. Can I farm this down in 5 more Poison Stinks? If I can't, then after 4, I'm going to throw the Aquadale. Looks like I do have to throw a Charge move, unfortunately, but this Golisopod does avoid our Gastrodon, which is exactly what we need to do. Aquadale comes through, gets a knockout. What are they going to bring in? Guzzlord, that is not what I want to see. That's going to be one of the Pokemon that can absorb all of my Charge move pressure. I have no neutral charge attacks. My Poison Stinks are neutral, but since I don't have Sludge Bomb, both Crunch and Aquadale would do almost nothing here. Since they're staying in this matchup, I'm going to go into my Gastrodon, go for this Earth Power, and I shielded up a move. They went for a Crunch, or they could have gone for a Crunch, but they baited us with a Dragon Claw, unfortunately. Earth Power does a lot of damage. Honestly, after landing that move, I put them into a range where a Crunch or an Aquatail could knock them out here. I'm going to no-shield. Surely they don't have a Crunch, right, if they went for a Dragon Claw bait. No, they do have it. They do a lot of damage to us now, too, which is absolutely catastrophic here. I have so much energy on Gastrodon. I'm going to go for the Body Slam. If they end up no-shielding this, I can go for another one to put them into Crunch range. If they shield it, I can just swap instantly to a Shadow Drapion, have some sort of play here in this matchup going for a Crunches. If 2 Crunches can knock out this Swampert, I think we can win this game. Hydro Cannon does come through, but we have that shield ready to go. I have back-to-back Hydros, or I have back-to-back Crunches, rather. I can go for the first one. Yeah, it looks like the next one will easily be able to knock out here. I overfarmed by 1 more move, because I feel like 1 Mudshot is going to do less damage than 1 Dragon Tail. I want to make sure I can reach this Aquatail against this Guzzlord when it comes back in, and it looks like we can Shadow Drapion, able to close out the endgame against both a Ground type and a Pokemon that can basically resist all of the moves that we're going to be able to throw, so GG's to them. Alright, next game, Shadow Dragonite. What are we going to see in the lead? It's going to be a Hippowdon, one of the best lead matchups, as long as it's not running Ice Fang. Fortunately for us, it looks like it is a Sand Attack user. With that said, they do have Weather Ball Rock. This is non-stab, but it is super effective and very, very cheap, which means they reach it before us. They get a lot of damage into our Dragonite, and now in comes a Galarian Moltres here. We don't have a hard answer to this, but our Shadow Drapion does resist these Sucker Punches, so I can come in here, spam out these charge moves. I know Aquatail doesn't really one-shot or even put into 2-shot range in Ultra League, but I can at least chip them down with our Poison Stings, to the point where in the 2-shield matchup, the next Aquatail should knock them out. I'm going to shield just in case it's a Brave Bird. It actually is. Sometimes you do have to respect those big moves. And now after that defense drop, I know this Aquatail will knock them out, and I have a lot of energy loaded on Drapion. If they end up shielding this up, I have the next Aquatail loaded. If they no-shield, we can use our energy against whatever is going to come back in here. What are they going to do? I'm very happy to get rid of that Moltres so our Gastrodon hopefully has more play in the back line, and it looks like that is a very good thing for a Gastrodon. Once again, a Tentacruel in the back. Crunch number 1, gonna land, gonna do a lot of damage here. gets a defense drop too, which is huge. In comes that Hippowdon, and just to make my life a little bit easier for a Shadow Dragonite, I'm going to draw a shield with this Aqua Tail, or potentially just do a lot of damage to them. In comes that shield. We have a Dragon Claw ready to go against this Hippowdon, and now I can shield once if they end up shielding and get to the next Dragon Claw before they can get to back-to-back Weather Ball. Dragon Claw does end up going shielded, so I kind of have to shield this. I want to guarantee that we get this Hippowdon out of the way so our Drapion doesn't have to deal with it, and so our Gastrodon doesn't take any unnecessary chip damage. We are going to barely be able to reach this Dragon Claw right before their Weather Ball, knock out this Hippo, and then our Gastrodon in the backline is easily going to be able to shut down that Tentacruel. Honestly, one of the best answers to Tentacruel in the entire game. Obviously, a lot of ground-type damage. We resist poison-type damage, so once they see it, they're going to top left. GG's to our opponent. This is exactly why I love using Gastrodon here in Ultra League. Alright, Shadow Dragonite up against, I guess there's the opposing Gastrodon here, a Pokemon that we resist pretty heavily. What the heck, Ice Fang Shadow Drapion Safe Swap, that's kind of cool, I guess. But luckily, our Gastrodon is still very strong against this one way or another. If that was like Grass Fang or something, if that was even a thing, then that would be a lot scarier here. But luckily, only running that fast move that is only neutral to us right now, it does get a defense drop on us with that Crunch, which is a little bit annoying. But we go for the Body Slam before they get another charge move, just so I don't have to go down shields here. I would assume the Gastrodon comes back in, but if that is the case, I get an Earth Power into them, and because of that defense drop, they get a few less Mud Slaps than they would otherwise, which is nice. I don't want to give them a lot of energy to start chipping away at our Dragonite. We know Dragonite is pretty squishy here, and look at that, a whole Earth Power landing against their Gastrodon. I know that they're in range where Crunch could knock them out, maybe even just fast move farm down range here, and their final Pokemon gonna be revealed, a Mandibuzz running Air Slash as well. Very interesting moveset, probably to counteract, I guess, the other dark types. Also, the fighters that are popping up a lot more in Ultra League now that Annihilate and Primeape are very common picks. Another Aqua Tail going to be spammed out. I know that Mandibuzz is bulky, but Shadow Drapion is just so spammy to these moves. I get another attack off. We actually draw a shield with an Aqua Tail of all things, and now I know I survived this. It's just an Aerial Ace from a Mandibuzz. It's going to do almost nothing to us. Yeah, not even going to be able to knock us out if they reach another one. I have another Aqua Tail loaded right now. Shadow Dragonite is still sitting in the backline with a decent amount of health and energy on it. I don't think there's really any way to lose this game, but I think at this point they're going to land this Aerial Ace, see that I let it go, and try to Mud Slap us down. So I'm going to keep watching, see if they swap. Looks like they do, so I'm going to swap as well, and make sure that I don't take any unnecessary damage on our Drapion. I'm able to go and no-shield this Body Slam, probably shield once, and from them all the way down, or if they don't throw their energy, if they don't have the Body Slam, I can go for the Dragon Claw, guarantee either a shield or a lot of damage, knock out that Gastrodon, and now it's just going to be a race for fast moves. Can I knock them out? I think it's going to be no contest here even. Yeah, we Dragon Breath them down, Mandibuzz not able to withstand our Shadow Dragonite's damage output. Alright, next game, Shadow Dragonite, another Gastrodon in the lead. Let's see what they have in the back here. Gonna be, oh, that's a Zygarde, a very annoying Pokemon. A Pokemon that also kind of got buffed this season. Bulldoze did get, I guess, completely reworked, right? It's a cheaper move. It has a 50-50 chance of, I guess, lowering your opponent's defense stat. So basically just higher odds of getting the debuff than Crunch. It's, I think, the same energy as Crunch, but also a cheaper stab move on this Pokemon. So it could potentially be a little bit scary. I end up shielding the Outrage. I figured at that point there's almost no reason for them to bait, so I do shield the move properly, and we have a lot of energy on our Gastrodon. We go for this Earth Power, knowing that a Body Slam would do almost nothing to Zygarde from Gastrodon, and in comes their own Gastrodon here. I have this Earth Power ready to go, and at this point, if they want to let this go, they can be my guest, but they're going to take a lot of damage, and they need to Earth Power me if they want to knock me out, which is going to be very awkward for them right now. I'm going to go for the CMP on this move here. They actually let us get to a full-on Earth Power, but I go for the bait just in case they're trying to farm us down. That way I could get to another Body Slam. They do end up shielding that, actually. And what move do they throw? I would assume just a Body Slam coming through here. We did get chipped down by Dragon Tails from that Zygarde, so I know that our Dragonite is a little bit lower than I'd like it to be, but we do have shield advantage, and we have our Shadow Drapion. That potentially could still put in a lot of work in the backline. In comes their final pick, gonna be that Weezing. We have a great answer for that with our shield advantage Shadow Drapion. They end up top lefting. GG's to them. Alright, next game, a Greninja in the lead. Very good matchup. We resist these Water Shurikens, but they are fairly spammy with these Night Slashes. But look at how much damage we've already done just with Fast Food Pressure. That is only 10 Dragon Breaths, already over a third of this Greninja's health gone. But that Night Slash resisted damage, well, not resisted, just a weak move, rather, going and doing over half of our health. That is kind of crazy. Luckily, our opponent does safe swap a Weezing, a Pokemon that normally I don't have a good answer to on my Ultra League teams, but fortunately, for once in my life, I have that hard response with our Gastrodon here. I'm just going to go and take all the damage I can. At this point, I'm really not concerned about Brutal Swings. If they had Player Up, they probably would have thrown it instantly, and now I have so much energy on Gastrodon. I can do one more Mud Slap, throw the Body Slam, and make sure that if they want to shield, I actually have back-to-back Body Slam. I'll get both shields from them here. I would assume that they'll let this go and try to farm down with Greninja, but I have so much energy on Gastrodon. I've done a lot of fast food pressure to it as well, that there's almost no way Greninja is going to be able to come out of this matchup with anything less than either shield deficit or just getting knocked out by our fast move and charge move pressure. We go for the Body Slam. We have back-to-back here, so we get both the Shield and a Body Slam into Greninja right now. This is going to do a lot of damage, not quite enough to knock out because it's not that strong of a move from a Gastrodon of all things. Unfortunately, get denied on entry here, but that's fine. That's just one Dragon Breath. It probably won't matter. I hope it won't matter at least. And in the backline, oh, actually, they're going to stay in here, probably get to another Night Slash, and then come in with their final Pokemon. This Dragon Claw will be able to knock them out if it goes unshielded, but they do have that Night Slash, so they shield. I have to shield myself just in case there's something in the backline or Shadow Dragonite needs to take care of that our Drapion could not. It looks like it's going to be a Tentacruel Pokemon that I have a ton of play into, actually, with this whole team. Shadow Dragonite able to do a lot of Dragon Breath pressure, go for Dragon Claw, and now I can also go and just swap in to Shadow Drapion, try our best to get to 2 charge moves here. I know I can reach a Crunch and an Aqua Tail before 2 Scalds are going to be reached, and I don't think they're going to be able to catch in time for me to have to really worry about that. I have a Crunch loaded right now, throw it instantly, try to at least fish for the defense drop. Not that I really need it at this point. We didn't get our attack dropped, and this Crunch is going to do a lot of damage. There goes the defense drop. Honestly, pretty useless there. This Aqua Tail would knock out one way or another, and we even have our Shadow Dragonite that could fast move this down and finish off the game, even if somehow our Drapion went down. That Greninja is still alive in the backline, but not healthy enough to do much. GG's to them. Our next game, we have a terrible lead, Clefable into our Shadow Dragonite. I have to safe swap our Shadow Drapion, try our best to flip switch advantage if possible. In comes a Unova Stunfisk. This Pokemon did recently get that Thundershock buff. Very cool pick by our opponent right now. Aqua Tail #1 coming through, doing about, I guess, 40% of this Ufisk's health. Not bad, but honestly, I need 3 moves to knock them out here. I don't think I can outpiece them enough to be able to flip switch, but at least I can get shields down, and maybe that's all I need this game to maybe set up a Gastrodon sweep. I don't know. That Clefable is going to be very hard to take out. It's going to be a tricky game to overcome one way or another. That Mud Bomb didn't do too much damage to us. It's not the strongest move in the game, but it is a very quick charging move, so they do CMP us on this next attack. Mud Bomb able to draw our shield. We're going to try to get to back-to-back Aqua Tail right now. We do have back-to-back, but that was once again a CMP, which means that no matter what, they will win switch advantage as long as they want to match shields with us. Aqua Tail does end up going shielded. I have another Aqua Tail now, though, so if I want to at least try to get this last shield down, I can shield up, go for this next Aqua Tail here after 4, CMP them, and then see what they want to do. They actually have the Mud Bomb right now, so I don't even have the Aqua Tail yet. This is not looking great for us. We don't flip switch advantage. They're able to have a decent amount of health on this Ufisk as well, but not enough to give our Gastrodon a huge farm down. We're going to try to get the Mud Slaps, but at this point, unless they're like really weak to Gastrodon and Dragonite in the backline, I don't really know what we can do. Looks like they just come in with their Shadow Feraligatr, not exactly as a counter to our Gastrodon, but mainly as a way to neutralize the energy that we have here. All they need to do is land 1 Hydro Cannon and keep their Clefable healthy to make sure it is able to take out our Shadow Dragonite. This is not looking good right now. I'm going to try, though, to go for this Earth Power. If this can knock out and make it so we can Earth Power the Clefable, maybe there's a chance, but they survive on 1 HP. They Simul Swap to the Clefable. Good play by them, but not much I could have really done there. Alright, next game here, up against a Malamar in the lead. Very neutral matchup. Try our best here to chip it down with our Dragon Breath, go for these potential Dragon Claws. Maybe even bait a Superpower, because Superpower would do a little bit more raw damage here, and see how this opponent wants to play this matchup out. They haven't thrown a Foul Play yet, which means they might be trying to build it to back-to-back charge moves, and if they do get to back-to-back, I'm going to swap right when they do to make sure I can catch a Foul Play. I would be very surprised if they went for a Superpower for some reason here. No, it's just going to be a Foul Play. Fantastic. We made the catch, and their best response to our Shadow Drapion is actually going to be a Tentacruel. Down shields. This is not going to be the best response for them right now. Crunch is going to come through. It doesn't quite two-shot unless we get the attack drop. Or a defense drop, rather. No defense drop to be seen. I'm going to hope that I can avoid the attack drop from the Scald, but even if they get it, at this point I can farm down with our Gastrodon and hopefully be in a good position. They do get the attack drop, so they're getting the beneficial side of the buffs and the debuffs this game. Crunch is going to come through, do a decent chunk of damage, but unfortunately not going to do quite as much as I'd like it to do. If that debuff didn't happen, this would not have reached a Scald here, so this is a little bit more uncomfortable than I'd like it to be. I'm still going to no-shield and try our best to farm this down with Gastrodon. Scald comes through, luckily no debuff that time. Back comes in that Malamar. I know this Pokemon has a full-on Foul Play loaded of energy, so I need to be careful. I need to throw energy in just a second to make sure I can knock them out. I'm going to go for a Body Slam bait. This could be a misplay if they end up letting this go, because I think they can reach a Superpower if they do survive this attack, which is exactly what ends up happening. I kind of have to shield this up at this point. I'm very low health on our Gastrodon, on our Shadow Drapion, and even our Dragonite's not looking that good, so I just have to hope that Gastrodon up energy is going to be good enough in the backline. What's it going to be, though, that comes in? In comes a Lowland Sandslash. Okay, I'm a little bit surprised that they didn't bring that into our Shadow Drapion, actually. I go for the Earth Power, guarantee the shield. We have some energy on our Shadow Dragonite, not quite enough to reach a Superpower just yet, but if I can make a catch here, there might be a chance for us to win this game. I go for the catch. We do reach the catch, once again catching a move on our Shadow Drapion. We have energy on Shadow Dragonite. We have energy on Gastrodon. what do we want to do here? I'm going to come in with our Shadow Dragonite, try to force him to swap out, or call when I'm going to go for the superpower and drain energy on them, or do something here. Just watch for the catch. They tried to catch, but we Dragon Breath down their Pokemon in the back line. We have the superpower ready to go. We can knock out this Alolan Sandslash and take the win here this game. GG's to our opponent. Very, very close matchup. All right, next game, Shadow Dragonite up against a Cobalion. Okay, honestly, not the most common Pokemon that you see in Ultra League anymore, but a very strong Pokemon against our Shadow Drapion. So happy I'm seeing it here, but honestly, a little bit of an awkward matchup because our Dragon-type damage is not doing too much damage to them, and they can also go for Stone Edge or potentially Sacred Sword baits against us, which is very annoying. I did get the bait off properly. I'm going to call that this is a Sacred Sword. In comes the Sacred Sword bait, so we played that matchup out perfectly so far. That could have gone so much worse if they called our bait, and I no-shielded the Stone Edge, but luckily the good side of the baits have been on our side. Dragon Claw does end up landing and doing so much damage to them. This is our best answer to the Feraligatr. If that was the Shadow Gator, this would be in farm down range, but being the non-Shadow Gator, I think they might actually be able to survive long enough to CMP us on this next move. I am going to throw it, just try our best to neutralize this Pokemon with our Shadow Dragonite. I know that once we have switch advantage this game, we can lock in our Gastrodon against this Cobalion, and we should be in a pretty good spot one way or another here. They do have a lot of energy, but I know Gastrodon is very bulky. These Mud Slaps are doing so much faster pressure, and at this point, as long as our Shadow Drapion is not hard answered in the backline, we should be in a pretty good spot this game. They throw all of their energy against our Gastrodon, which means they can't really use this as a combo play later on. They must be kind of weak in the backline to our Gastrodon, but they are going to come in with a Licky Licky here. They don't even build up to an Earthquake, though. A little bit of a mistake by them. I would have gone for 5 rollouts, at least make it seem like I could have Earthquake, right? But since it was only 4, I can no-shield that freely, go for these crunches, and at this point try our best to make sure that we can chip this down into a range where our Gastrodon can close out this backline. Crunch does end up drawing the first shield there. We have another one loaded, though. This is going to be able to do a decent chunk of damage, put them basically into half health range, where the next charge move should be able to knock them out. We do get the defense drop, but that's not going to matter too much here because they can swap out likely before I get my next charge move. But if they do, I want to make sure I swap myself to my Gastrodon, farm them all the way down here, and I'll have energy for that Licky Licky when it comes back in. I'm going to no-shield this. I know that Shadow Ball could potentially do more damage to us, and I know that I can farm them down one way or another here, still have that shield for our Drapion later on. We have the Earth Power ready to go. We can easily knock out this Licky Licky with this move, plus with some faster pressure. We're almost out of move with our Drapion as well. Bit of a misplay by me. I should have gone for that body slam. I didn't realize I'd get it just yet, but I still have one Poison Sting away from my Aqua Tail. I reach it right now after getting the sneak through, and I should be able to win this game. I should just go for the body slam to guarantee the win, but Aqua Tail, good enough, right? Shadow Drapion able to close out this game and get us the win with some very nice bait calls in that lead matchup there. GG's to our opponents today. Shadow Dragonite, one of the best Pokemon, one of my favorite Pokemon in Ultra League. A very hard Pokemon to overcome if you don't have a hard answer like a Fairy type, an Ice type. This Machop, a hard Pokemon to overcome, a hard Pokemon to catch there, it looked like. Juking all my throws. But 24-16 is the ending elo today. We went 18-7 with this Shadow Dragonite team, climbing over 150 points, a lot of very good matchups, and honestly, I think this is about as good of a team as it gets in the Ultra League right now. Alright, well, thank you so much for watching today's video. I stream my battles basically every day at twitch.tv/ItsAXN. If you want to see this kind of content live, please make sure to check me out there. Also, I'm going to upload a lot more to the channel, so if you want to see more content like this, please make sure to subscribe. Thank you again for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.